Basarba's in the middle. Wednesday here could seal it. Gassman finds Basarba.
It's now Bannon. Bannon with a great ball in. Here's an opportunity. Palmer scores! Liam Palmer has scored for Sheffield Wednesday.
Hello and welcome to the Wednesday Tie-Dye podcast. This is the first of a two-part season review of the 24-25 Sky Bet Championship campaign, a season in which we climbed as high as 9th, not counting the 4-0 game week 1, which put us atop of the league for all of a week. I mean, we came within a few points of the top 6 before eventually finishing 12, 10 points from the top 6 and playoffs, and 9 points clear of safety. We asked for that mid-table finish. We pretty much got it. With me this week, after a brief hiatus, is Mr. Matt Johnson. Matt, how's things? All good?
Yeah, not too bad, James. Not too bad. It was really interesting actually last week, kind of like being back on the not on this really and listening to yourself and Dom kind of dissect things. It was really interesting, really entertaining pod. So yeah, I'm very pleased to be back, obviously, because there's once it's your shirt to lose, as everybody constantly says. But yeah, I was really pleased.
For context as well, you were away for the whole weekend because obviously Watford were a dead rubber and you'd had that agreement, hadn't you? If there was nothing riding on that game, you were going to go away. And then your little lad got on well and you came back early. So you was declared fit for Sunday's pod, but I benched you, mate.
Yeah, I was. I went to Carlos Tevez once you benched me and went golfing instead. Yeah. Yeah, it was fun. It was very, yeah, it was, again, it was, as you'd said, like, it was away for a weekend with the missus and wife, and it was her mates and all the rest of it who'd booked it. Woke up on Sunday and, what's his name? He was ill. So there was a little part of me that was thinking, I'm not too unhappy about having to come back here. Yeah, but it was a good weekend away. Yeah, my dad enjoyed the game at Watford anyway, and had a very emotional goodbye to Danny. Apparently, we'll talk about it on extra time. I know, James, but
we will. Yes, I mean, yeah. On this episode, we are going to be going over the first half of the season, game week 1, right up to game week 23, which takes us up to Middlesbrough away on Boxing Day. I mean, we are going to talk about that right at the end, but. You were there for that one, weren't you? That was one crazy old game.
Yeah, there was some absolute crackers in this first half of the season. Really enjoyable game.
Can't wait to do part 2.
Part 2 is going to be a completely different tone to this first part of this season review, because the first half of the season was brilliant. Like, it was one of them. I hesitate to say this. It was some of the most fun I've had watching Wednesday, the first half of this season, in terms of the football, in terms of the late goals, in terms of the fact that we had that never say die attitude. It was so much fun. Wow, where did it all go wrong?
Fans forum, maybe. But that's not in the first half, so we're not going to talk about it. We're not going to... This is right up... I mean, I suppose, actually, Borough did come just after the talks had happened with Southampton, but obviously we weren't privy to any of that at that point. As Matt mentioned, if you have come here to find out what we think about the whole Danny Röhl situation that's developed quite rapidly, I think, over the past week or so, then, yeah, do stick around for extra time, which will be immediately after this show this evening. Normally that's just live for Patreon members, but we're going to do it live for everyone. So do stick around. Everyone will be able to watch that. This stream will end, but there's another one we'll be starting immediately after. As I said, if you can't watch it live, if it's past your bedtime or whatever it is, then Patreon is where you need to go to find that one. Anyway, let's get into this review. We'll also have some clips of some of the goals in nearly every game. There didn't one for that one down the road. Because for obvious reasons. They didn't one for the Millwall game. So I couldn't find one with any commentary, which for the audio listeners wouldn't have been great, just some match noise of a Millwall goal. But anyway, also, I will apologise for the quality of the clips in advance. I wasn't sitting there downloading 4K videos for God knows how long. And also, I will apologise for John Pearson's commentary, or maybe it's just his loud shouting. Nothing against you, John, if you're listening. Fantastic. It's all good to have someone who's passionate. Yeah. But the microphone's a little bit close to your mouth when you're screaming, is all I would say on that. It's you know what as well, again, no offence caused, but there's some cracking commentary and there's some great goals, but it's just the clipping of the audio on the like the shouting that just renders them a little bit unusable. To be fair, like when I do the intro and stuff, I have to be careful which ones I pick out. Anyway, there's loads of people in the comments as always. Matt from another Matt. There we go. Welcome back, Matt. So all the love there. Jay says, when does the return list come out? I believe it's some point next week when the players have to be told. That's the players, that is. So I'm sure the club would put it straight out because the players, no doubt, will be straight onto Instagram, TikTok, wherever, and telling everyone of where they won't be playing the football next season. And Daniel says, yeah, certainly the best part of the season. Yeah, the first half was. Jack's talking about Danny Röhl. Jack, we're going to be talking about an extra time. When we're not going to be discussing that on here. Certainly not what he's been doing in the past week, because that didn't happen in the first half of the season. So right, let's
all rosy, wasn't it? It was all rosy, James. Everybody was happy.
Well, talking about being rosy, Wednesday 4, Plymouth Argyle 0, kicked things off with a win. I mean, what a fantastic win against Wayne Rooney's Plymouth, by the way, which seems like a decade ago when that happened.
Hey,
Matt,
Sissoko looked like a footballer as well,
in a green shirt instead of a blue and white
with the wrong name on the back as well.
Yeah. Matt, what did you think? Because I'm not going to lie, when we beat them 4-0, first game of the season, obviously we had a fantastic finish. Pre-season went fairly well, playing against some top sides, mixing it up, and actually looked like we were a proper football team. I thought we were going to have a pretty good season, and by pretty good, I thought kind of top 6 was on, all for about a week, which we'll get onto. But I know I was trying not to get too carried away, but inside I was like a giddy schoolboy. I was like, 4-0. What? Like, this is it. This is the season.
I'll be honest, James, when you asked me what I was thinking, I wasn't thinking much because I'd just come off. I'd flown in from Amsterdam the morning of the game, so I wasn't thinking much, I'll be honest with you, after 3 days there. I was really excited by it, but I think me and you, this is something that I would hope, if you do want to go back and have a nice day in the sun, go back and listen to the pod that me and you did. I'm fairly sure me and you both said if we have a better performance all season, I'd be surprised, because we were sensational on the day. And that's also, Plymouth were god awful, and their pre-season had very, very mixed reviews. I know, like, people look at kind of like the life of Pie. So Pieface, one of the streamers, he does like kind of content from away days. If you haven't watched his match day vlog, go back and watch. It is so funny. But I remember coming away from Hillsborough and being in the car on the way back and racing back here to get back in time for the pod, and just been thinking, if we play football like that all season, in that manner and in that style, there aren't legitimately, there'll be, like 4 or 5 teams who are far better than us, but we are certainly going to be able to give any single team in this league problems with the way that we played. It was very, very entertaining to watch. It
was just everything clicked, didn't it? Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Everything that we tried came off. I mean, just looking at the numbers, the stats, we had 32 shots on goal.
Yeah.
That get like 32. I think we've in this the last kind of 3-4 months of the season, I don't think we've had 32 shots in 2025. Like, do you know what I mean? Let alone in one game, there were there 32 shots, 4 goals. I can't see exactly how many was on target from what I'm looking at.
I want to say it was something like 17 or something like that, James. And it was, I think the most exciting thing, and I think the most impressive thing, there was that our player of the season hadn't arrived yet in Shea Charles. Like, we played a midfield of Svante Ingelsson, Barry Bannon, and then we had kind of like a Windass floating. We had Jamal Lowe dropping deep to receive the ball. We had
Jamal Lowe playing as a number 9 with number 9 on his shirt, actually on the pitch as well, which is, do you know what? I thought we'd signed an absolute baller. I honestly thought. I mean, he's one of the signings that we made in the summer that I was really excited about, because he's one that I'd heard of. Do you know what I mean? Jamal Lowe is he came to us, scored for Swansea, the season before. I thought, this is going to be exciting. This, we had Masaba on one side, Gassama on the other. I thought, you know what, pre-season might have worked. Ingelsson again, he looked a baller. Later found out that's perhaps not the case. But yeah, he looked. I mean, when you do read that side out, you're just going through it there. But Beadle in goal, Valerie Iofa, Bernard and Max Lowe, Ingleson and Bannon holding, Gassama and Masaba either side, with Windass in the 10 and Jamal Lowe up front. That, do you know what? That when you talk about that team and kind of when you see how the season's panned out, like that was quite a decent side, that, isn't it? Really.
I think for the way that we were playing football at that time and the way that we'd approached pre-season in terms of the way we were playing football, I think that best suited, because we'd had the friendly against Werder Bremen, we'd had the Liam Palmer's testimonial the week before, and everything ball was on the floor. Everything ball was on the floor. Like it was, feeding it into a striker's feet, letting them kind of pop it off, letting them Jamal Lowe and Josh Windass kind of interchanging in terms of spaces. They were dropping deeper into pockets. And don't get me wrong, we did see flashes of that. I think, we'll come on to touch on these games, but away at Oxford, I mean, that was, in my opinion, in this first half of the season, probably as close as we got to touching the sun again. We were really good in that game. But yeah, it was, I mean, this was the... I know we haven't even finished this game yet, but there was two very contrasting performances to kick off the season, obviously, and we then didn't see a back four for a while after this opening little salvo of kind of games. So yeah.
Well, let me just play the clip. Hopefully this works all right. I'm not even done any testing on this, but let's just see. Let's hope it does. But yeah, I'll just play the clip of one of the goals from that game.
Gassama. Valerie. Bannon with the ball forward to Ingleson. Right across and Lowe! Jamal Lowe on his debut on the 300th league appearance of his career. And that is some way to mark it.
Matt, can we just talk about that touch and that cross with the outside of Ingleson's left boot? Where did that come from, by the way? I mean, this is obviously the first time that we've this is his debut. This is Ingleson's debut when he does that. Obviously in hindsight, it's a wonderful thing, but there's a reason why we're all getting a bit excited, weren't there? Because that football was fantastic.
Yeah, it was. The other thing that surprised me there watching back that clip was watching a centre forward be within the width of the posts, because we don't see that, and we haven't seen that consistently for the rest of the season. It's always been, we've crossed the ball in and it's always a kind of backstick runner, which for that goal that we've just shown there and kind of you've just heard back, you've got Jamal Lowe kind of peeling off, kind of centre halves, playing behind the defenders, but it doesn't matter because the ball's not going to him originally. It goes out wide and then we just square it across. So he's already got a free run in. Anthony Masaba's at the back post about to tap it in. I say tap it in because at this point in time, I believe he would have done. Now, I'm not so sure, but at that time in the season, I believe he would have done. It was a really, really good goal. Slick one-touch passing. The ball from Bannon through to Ingleson is superb as well. Yeah, what a nice day in the sunshine that was.
Yeah, Daniel said, what a game that was. Ingleson looks a proper player, even Jamal Lowe. Chef Cam says, was excited about Lowe, tore Valentin apart at their place last year. Jamal Lowe just didn't really get going, did he, at all? I don't know what it was. I don't know whether, I know he had number 9 on his shirt, and I know he said, there we played him through the middle. Didn't really play him out wide, did we, all season? Which is where when you see him as a player throughout his career, from the little bits that I've seen, that's where I thought he would be. Maybe the fact that we had Masaba and Gassama perhaps meant it was a little bit top heavy, but then you kind of question, why did we bring him in the first place if that was the case?
Yeah, I don't think we've seen Jamal Lowe play enough games in his actual position to actually make a judgment on him, because he's not, as when he came back into the side around the Oxford and Derby games later in this first half of the season, we were playing the ball up to him as a target man. And if you look at that clip, and then I know we're going to talk about it next week in that game away at Cardiff, there's a shell of the player that we saw on that opening day, like an absolute shell and a totally different player. I would like to see him given a run in a wider left position for us. Might not be the case now, it might be, something that we never get to see actually at Wednesday, but I would have quite liked that just for balance, because I think what we saw of him that day is how to get the most out of him as a centre forward. And we saw it in Liam Palmer's testimonial the week before, where we were dropping the ball into his feet and he was laying it off and linking, and he had runners going in behind him. We saw that at Plymouth. we haven't really seen that since. We haven't seen players doing that, arguably aside from maybe Oxford away, where he was allowed to come off and he did rotate with Josh Windass and latterly kind of like Michael Smith when he came on the pitch. Paul Valentin played well that day. I know I'm talking about a game that's way down the line in December here, but those are the two games where I feel we've got the best out of Jamal Lowe, and we've actually played and utilised his strengths when he plays in a central position, if that makes sense. I don't think we've done so since, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. Let's move on to the second game of the season then. So, there's a week for us to keep looking at the league table and see that Sheffield Wednesday are top of the league. We are top of the league. I mean, it didn't last for long at all because what anything that could have possibly have gone wrong did go wrong in this one. You know, we've just beaten Plymouth 4-0, and then we get that same scoreline handed to us against Sunderland at the Stadium of Light. I mean, I couldn't have been more disappointed if I'd tried. In just the way that, you know, we were kind of temperate in his expectations. You know, there were a lot of people saying, you know, Plymouth are just really shit, and everyone's like, no, we're really good. And then after that game, you think, actually, yeah, I think Plymouth were really shit. Actually, it's a good job they went down. Really, when you look at it, you know what were it? We're 3-0 before half time. 3-0 before half time. Yeah, right. Goals just kept coming. You know, they just put the icing on the cake. It was straight after half time when I was thinking, like, look, let's win the second half. You know, you never know. 3-0, boom, 4-0. All right, that's.
It was bad, wasn't it?
That is like absolutely straight out the window. I'll play this clip first. Then this it is the goal when Beadle tries to play it out from the back, and then he's not playing it out from the back. It's the ball through the middle, which Windass tries to do. Well, let's just play the clip.
Well, that's loose from Windass, and Meyender's onto this. Bang! 2-0 to Sunderland in next to no time.
Windass tries the elaborate flick. It doesn't come off. It falls to Meyender. A little bit like Dennis Sirkin with a header. He's still got plenty enough to do, but he stays calm, composed, and he picks his spot. And it's an absolute beauty.
Yeah, that was 15 minutes in, and we were 2-0 down, and I'm just thinking, oh dear, what has happened? Like Daniel just said there, that flick by Windass. Yeah,
I mean, we were good for the first 10 minutes. Again, I don't want to be, you know, ridiculous here because I know we lost the game 4-0 and fully deserved to. It should have been 6 or 7, to be perfectly honest. Sunderland missed chances. The reason why I've highlighted that one, Daniel, because it is, I mean, it's not only comedy gold. I have no idea who he's flicking the ball to. Like, he's trying to back heel on the edge of his own, the edge of his own half centre circle, if that makes sense. And he's trying to play it into an area. But when you actually, you know, when Sky frees the clip of like the ball's played out to him, there's nobody there. So I don't know who he's trying to find. There's nobody close to him. There's nobody wide. This was a real down to earth, like proper humbling by one of the division's top teams.
Yes. And
I think for the first 10 minutes, Anthony Masaba looked lively. He got in behind, I think it was Trey Hume? I think he got in behind a couple of times, looked good. And then we went sleep from a free kick. Dennis Sirkin heads in like with nobody around him. It was a cheap free kick to give away. And we saw this happen a couple of times over the first half of this season. We were giving away cheap free kicks in dangerous areas. Ball comes in, bang, back post, free header, 1-0. That one, again, this is where we were trying to play out from the back. I think the flick from Windass is criminal. The reason why it's criminal is not because he doesn't just get it under control. That is obviously the one. But it's because of what's happened with the two centre-halves who have split, which we saw the week before at Plymouth worked to perfection because they were able to, a centre-forward or Josh Windass was able, or Jamal Lowe was able to get the ball under control and then pop it off into spaces and areas. It allowed the wing-backs to go higher. It was so fluid. In this was a prime example of what happens when this don't work. And you are up against one of those top teams in the division. And before you know it, you are 3-0 down. And I'm with you, James. I remember coming out from half time and just being like, right then, boys, keep it solid. I hadn't even finished the fucking sentence before it was a tap-in for 4-0. And yeah, this
Do you know what? This just sums up football, though, doesn't it? From the highs of literally 7 days before to the absolute lows after that one, you're thinking, well, that's not going to be playoffs now, you know. And you've gone from everything turning to gold to everything turning to absolute shit, and they've just tried to play the same, you know, the same level of football, really.
Yes.
That was. I think you're right when you say that was a real humbling.
Yeah,
I kept referencing these kind of 3 games: Sunderland, Leeds, and Millwall, as kind of the 3 games where we've actually got battered. You know, fairly, you know, or beaten fairly comfortably. Not really in the game at all at any point. I was going to. Well, we were going to talk about Leeds, but if we talked about every game, we'd be here until tomorrow. You know, talking about every game in detail. So I will keep that one out. It was a 2-0 defeat at home Friday night.
See above, we weren't in the game. Legitimately see above, we weren't in the game. There's not much more that you can say to it, really.
No, exactly. The one that kind of disappointed me the most was this next one, Matt. 3-0 against Millwall. Yeah, well, it was quite alarming, weren't it? Yeah,
this was the most alarming of them all, because at that point in the season, nobody. Well, I think, again, even with the benefit of hindsight now and kind of where Millwall have finished, Millwall, and I really don't want to be horrible to them.
Matt, just be horrible.
Yeah. Millwall on a great side. Like, Millwall aren't a great side. They're very, very good at what they do, and you know exactly what you're going to go. You know exactly what you're going to get when you go to the Den in terms of like the style of play and the brand of football. Also, Millwall were on a horrible run up until this point. Absolutely horrible. I don't think they'd won up until this point. I think they'd scored 1 in the first 3 games or so. It was something ridiculous like that. I remember going down there and being like, no, this is a real acid test for how good this side are, because this is
they lost 3-2 to Watford, lost 4-3 to Bristol City, and then they drew 0-0 with Hull. So they 3 games, 1 point, and then up steps Charity FC.
Yeah, and we weren't in the game at all. There was no fight, no spirit. We were resoundingly beaten yet again for the 3rd game in a row. And it was very, very clear to anybody, I think, after this game that the squad wasn't as good as everybody thought. Like, the squad put together on its given day against the teams down the bottom end of the division, we're probably going to be all right. But actually, in competition with the teams who are around us and the teams definitely who we expected to be above us, this is going to be a long old slog.
Yeah, because the 2 defeats to Sunderland and Leeds I kind of stomached, because I was like, you know, first one Sunderland away, yep, I get that. Sunderland I expected to be up there. You know, they finished 4th this season. Leeds, Leeds is just Leeds, isn't it? Like we always tend to struggle, and they've beaten us 2-0. They finished 100 points. Yeah. So obviously at the time you're not going to know that, but you kind of expected and hoping them to finish there by the end of the season. The Millwall one was kind of like, we could be 2 wins and 2 defeats in the first 4 games here, and you would have, looking at your fixtures, you'd have took that, beat the teams that you expect to beat, you know, lose against teams that you probably expected to lose against, and let's just move on and look at the next set of fixtures, really. And that it was the one that disappointed me the most, and as much as you said Sunderland humbled us, I was looking at this one, you know, after this game and thinking, oh, right, we might be in a bit of, not a spot of bother, but we might not be as good as what we actually initially thought. And then you're looking, thinking 3 defeats on the spin. Didn't score in any of them, did we either? You know, it were all 2-0, 4-0, 2-0, 3-0. You're thinking, oh, God, is this gonna carry on or not? But yeah, I mean, obviously, thankfully, it didn't. Although it didn't get much better, though. To be fair, I haven't got a clip for the Millwall one, as I said. But
this was the game before the international break. Last game before the international break. This was the game the day after the transfer window slammed shut, because that's how you have to officially announce it closing. I mean, you had just done a 4-hour pod where we'd signed absolutely fucking no one. Sat on here doing a live stream. We had brought in, I think it was Shea Charles in the week leading up to the game. He got some minutes. I think he came into the squad to replace Fante Ingelsson. I think Ingelsson was on the bench. He played 60 minutes. It looked like he was trying to find his feet. But the only reason I'm mentioning Shea Charles in a 3-0 defeat is because he was the only player worth of any note. Because when the third goal went in, that away end at Millwall completely emptied, which was in total contrast to February earlier in the year, where we'd gone there, really put a marker down and stamped our authority on a team who were in a similar position to us, and put a, like a real firm stake in the ground here of, we're not going down without a fight. A couple of months later, we go back there and just rolled over. Ike Ugbo started this game as well. That's the only reason I'm noting it again, because how few of those have we seen?
Obviously, we're going through this. This is just the league games. I know, obviously, people are probably saying, oh, yeah, but we beat Hull 2-1, and where Charlie McNeil scored, and we beat Grimsby 5-1, where Ike Ugbo scored. Get that on his honours board. But we're just talking about the league games there, because this was after that 5-1 win against Grimsby, where because Ugbo we signed him just before the Hull game, hadn't we? Or he came on for the in the cup. Then he obviously wasn't fit, but he did start against Millwall, and as we saw for the rest of the season, didn't really do a great deal.
Honest answer is, James, he didn't look fit.
Yeah,
and it's and that's I mean this really nicely. That has persisted all season, and this isn't a knock at the player, because I think I've made my views perfectly clear on Ike Ugbo. I think this is just a real stark reminder of how important pre-season is to a player, like an actual proper pre-season. And the one thing that I would say for our squad at the end of that Millwall game, they looked exhausted. They looked like they just had a really, really intense way of learning a new system, as Daniel said here, in terms of, Daniel's just put, I think the way Danny wanted to play out at the beginning of the season was too much for the players, and of course he had to change it later on down the line. It came after this game, didn't it? This was where we went into that international break. Wednesday fans were like, right, what do we do here? Do we rip up the script? Do we go back to... And I remember me and you sat and discussed it, and we're like, no, it's got to change it. Like, this has to change. This can't carry on the way that it is at this point in time. And we then went to we then came back to Hillsborough, didn't we, for a game against QPR?
We did, yeah. And do you know what? If it's one of those games where you look and you think, if I said to you, you're going to score at 93rd minute to take the game to 1-0, you'd think, well, finish 1-0, didn't it? No, you'll you have to think again on that one. Bannon scored a great goal, which is not really going to be spoken about at all because of the goal that kind of came after that one. Bannon scored from the edge of the box in front of that away end, and then we had the most Sunday League goal you will ever find. Have you seen anything like that before, Matt? Because it was comical, weren't it?
Now, if I see a worse goal at Sheffield 6, I'll be an unlucky man. Like, it was god awful, like really, truly god awful.
Just put your foot through it, man.
I can't believe that I'm going to say this. Like, this is still going to sound like sour grapes now, months on. There's a foul on Liam Palmer in there. There's James Beadle doing very, very James Beadle things and just chucking himself onto a dog pile. There's players getting pushed left, right, and centre. Max Lowe, who's on the line, it just kind of goes past him. There's just so many errors. But as you rightly say, just before this, James, what a goal from Barry Bannon. In 2 weeks here of absolutely sensational goals.
Let's just play that one, and do put your fingers in your ears when the ball hits the back of the net.
Charles was onto it quickly. He has got a good strike on him as Shea Charles. Crossed in now by Valentin. Wednesday with Smith. Tries to cushion down. Bannon has a goal! Yeah! Does he have a goal? It hits the ball and goes down and in. The skipper leads from the front for Sheffield Wednesday. A hop, skip and a jump, and Sheffield Wednesday look like they've come up with a winner with time running out. Magnificent from Bannon. Perfect strike. Our shooting has been a little bit wayward, to say the least, today. There was nothing wrong with that from Barry Bannon. That was perfect. No chance at all for Nardi in the QPR goal. And Wednesday have found a way through. With what, maybe about a minute and a half remaining. It's Sheffield Wednesday 1, QPR 0.
Well, great credit to Michael Smith. What a chest down. He's not put it on a plate for Barry Bannon. Barry Bannon's got a lot of work still to do with it. But he's kept it down. And the goalkeeper, Nardi, must be gobsmacked. That's just good. That's a.
It was a great finish, wasn't it, Matt? Like, just the keeper he just watched it, didn't he? Just watched it go into the back of the net.
It's outrageous. It's the fact of, I can't remember who shared the still image at the time. It was from a photo that was taken from the away end on the Leppings Lane, like a photographer who's down low by the goal. And the ball's up by his shoulder. It's an outrageous goal. And I know you talked about it last night, James, with kind of like Bannon and kind of like, should we be offering him a new deal and all the rest of it. I know as the season's progressed, he's perhaps become a little less effective than he was at the start of the season. He's still capable of producing moments like that. And there were a few, the next game that we're going to talk about, Luton, he produced a stellar goal in that as well. He's a fabulous footballer. And I genuinely, I know we're talking about the game here, James, but I do think we tend to forget that at Sheffield Wednesday. Like you've mentioned it a couple of times about becoming desensitized to kind of like his ability.
You just expect it. You expect him to put in a 9 or a 10 every single week, and he plays a pass that other people don't even see, and it just doesn't quite come off, and it's like, fucking hell, Barry.
Yeah.
And I'll just be honest and say I fall foul of that myself as well at times, and I think it's right. We just expect a good level of performance every single week. Whereas, when you look at a Paul Valentin or Svanny Ingolson or anyone else, we're not expecting that level, so we don't give them the same amount of criticism. There's another clip for this game because we've got to watch this, the equaliser, because it is. I should have dubbed some kind of.
Carry on music.
Yeah, over the top of it, because it is. Well, I'll just play it again just for. I'm sure you've probably had to eradicate it from your mind, but yeah, it's what a terrible goal.
So bad.
Last chance saloon then for Queen's Park Rangers at the Cop ends.
We've gone into added time, on added time.
Over it goes. Come on, Wednesday, get it away! No! Has it gone over the line? It's still a scramble! It's still there, and it's still there to be fought for. There's everybody jumping on the ball. It's still not cleared away. They're going to score! They have scored! QPR have got an equaliser with the last kick of the game. Unbelievable. We couldn't even see the ball for about 30 seconds of that, but they've stabbed it over the line. And QPR have got something from this game. Incredible.
What do you say to that?
It's gone out, and it's over, and it is a draw.
So bad, isn't it? There's no two ways about it. It's just so bad.
It's just a melee of people, and he's right. Like you just can't see the ball, can you? Rob's saying, like, I don't know where the ball is. Like, you literally can't see it, and all of a sudden, boof, it's straight past Jan Valid, who stood on the line. It's a great save initially from Beadle, and then just put your foot through it, man. Like you said, how the ref did not give a foul there is beyond me. It was, I do at that point as well, because at this point, we'd lost the 3 games prior. We've just come back after international break. We've scored that goal, and you think, in a game which, you were thinking, oh, this is just going to peter out, it's just going to be a 0-0. To get that goal, you're thinking, that's it now. We're going to kick on. We've got that win. And then I just thought, just the Wednesday way, innit?
Well, we also played really well in that game, in between both boxes, which is going to become a running theme, I think, James, over the course of these 2 parters. I thought we were great on the day. And again, that leads into Luton. I thought for 76 minutes the following week down at Kenilworth Road, we were exceptional. Again, it seemed to be, we'd changed the shape, we'd changed the way in which that we were playing, we'd gone to a more sort of, I suppose, a more familiar system for the players that were in that team. Because as we've spoken about towards the back end of this season, the spine of that team that is on the pitch there, it's Michael Smith who chests it down to Bannon. Like, it's Liam Palmer who gets fouled. There's Dominic Iorfa in there. They are very comfortable in playing a 5 at the back, those players who were there. And we went back to a system that kind of suited us a little bit more, and we played really, really well in the game. We were probably unlucky not to win it, although we didn't create much in terms of gilt-edged chances in front of goal. You do watch that goal back, and I think, like, again, I've used the word before. You do become desensitized to just how shit that goal is.
Well, Tony said livid. Chef Cam, feel badly watching that. Danny says unreal. Justin said a bit Sunday League that was. Yeah, 100%.
Awful.
And then Daniel said defending set pieces the Wednesday way all season. Yeah, it was. Yeah, came from another corner, although the corner was taking about a minute and a half before the goal actually went in. Just clear it, man. Just clear it. Let's move on then to the next game, and it was Luton at Kenilworth Road. Big old Luton, who they'd started off poorly, but we were thinking, you know what, this is a team that's going to be up there. Come the end of the season, they're going to be top six. Where were Luton going to finish, Matt? Just
top.
Oh yeah, that's it.
I'm not too proud to beg. I will tell you now, James. Luton were going to finish top. I was convinced of it.
I don't know why I'm being so smug, because I think I had them fourth or fifth or something like that. So I didn't fare too much better.
I know that sounds mental now, considering how the season ended up and the team that finished on paper for them at the end of the year. But at that point in time, there was, not just amongst Wednesday fans, there was a genuine feeling amongst the entire EFL in terms of the Championship and all of the media outlets around it going, how are Luton where they are? Like, how have they been this bad? Like, oh my God, like they've been terrible. Like, surely it's going to kick into gear at some point. I was one of those people. I thought it would kick into gear. I mean, I will say this. I've got a close mate of mine who's a Luton fan. I'm fucking grateful it hasn't, because, oh my God, the fairy tale of Kenilworth Road I've heard over the past 6-7 years has just done my head in. So I'm delighted they've gone down.
I love the picture that people were tweeting saying, imagine this entrance in League One or whatever it was at the away end.
That was a strange day, that, like, the actual day. I mean, first off, if you like traffic, League One fans will love Luton. My goodness me. But then, yeah, like it's a really, I know people go, oh, this is proper football. No, it's not. It's a shithole. It's the away end is horrible. However, it is more advanced than ours because they have safe standing. It's a really nasty ground, and the views terrible that you get and all the rest of it. It was a good job the Bannon goal was actually at our end, because you wouldn't have seen it at the other end. Like, do you remember I think it was this one where Olaf Kabatsky started the game and he cut in the first half and whipped it, and it just went past the angle of post and crossbar. And genuinely, from the view that you had, you were like, I got no idea whether that's 2 inches or 2 meters wide or anything.
But another kind of observation, when you're looking at the side that started that game, a lot of chopping and changing, and I think we had to kind of get used to, didn't we, the fact that we're not going to see the same 11 in 2 consecutive games. You're right there. Kabatsky started, Smith was in the middle, Windass on the opposite side. We've got Johnson, Palmer even started this one. A rare start for him. So there are a lot of changes that they made. The Bannon goal again. You mentioned that he scored 2 worldies. He scored another fantastic goal. Again, another one that's not going to be spoken about because overshadowed by the red card and the fact that we lost the game. But we were just talking before, weren't we, about his ability, and to kind of get someone of his ability again is going to cost so much money. The fact that we signed Barry Bannon on a free is mind blowing, I think.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this goal for me technically is as good as the one from the QPR game the week before, just because of the height, the fact that he's running onto it, the fact that he has to slow himself down, because not just to hit the target with the strike, it's to actually put the ball low so the keeper doesn't have a chance. Because how many times do you see an advancing midfielder come onto that and hit the ball, and it's a really well-struck strike, but it's like a nice height for the goalkeeper?
Yeah.
This is such a fantastic goal. Like, it is an absolutely outrageous finish, this one.
I'll play the clip. I think I've kind of put them both together, so we will also get the red card from Deshawn Bernard, because that was the massive turning point in the game, isn't it? Really, red card, penalty as well. That at that point we were holding on, weren't we? Well, let's play. I'm waiting for a comment there, Matt. But I'll play the
Sorry,
clip.
James.
It's fine.
Valerie charging towards Luton penalty area. It's going to fall to Bannon. A quite brilliant opener from Sheffield Wednesday's magic man. Wraps his foot around it towards Morris. Mengi, good save. McGuinness. Deshawn Bernard is going to go here. He handballed it on the line. And Luton have a chance from 12 yards. If Beadle makes that save that Deshawn Bernard has, he'll be buzzing.
Who's Deshawn Bernard, by the way?
I mean, this was the one, James, where, again, we saw it for the QPR goal as well, which I can't believe we've watched those two incidents back, and it was mental that this was happening in the space of like a week, wasn't it? Yeah. But this was the time where we were having that real calamitous last ditch, everything's 100 mile an hour defending. And it was just because everybody was so desperate to get a result because of how well we'd started. Because actually, as I think it's the commentator who rightly says, James Beadle's behind Deshawn Bernard there and makes the save. Deshawn Bernard. But he makes the save. Like, yeah. I mean, again, it's commendable from Deshawn Bernard. To get in front of James Beadle and block the shot. And it's unfortunate that Mark McGuinness is there just to head the ball straight into Deshawn Bernard's top half of his arm, shoulder, whatever you want. It was stupid decisions because, again, you couldn't see anything in the ground. I remember watching it back after the game and the fan base was very, very split on whether it was a penalty or not. I'm still convinced it's a penalty. I'm really sorry, Brett, in the chat. I don't agree. Yes, we'll get there in the end. 6 months later, and it's still as clear as day. It's off his shoulder. I think in real time, that's a penalty all day long. Like if that in real time, I understand when it's slowed down. I understand when the stills there. You've got that t-shirt line rule now and all the rest of it. It's the motion of his arm that goes out towards it. It's the fact that he's going down. I can totally understand why it was given.
Yeah, like you said, though, you know, it's one of those where you want players to do that. How many times this season have we said that other opposition players are, you know, dying for that badge on their shirt, putting everything on the line, blocks and all this, that, and the other, and we don't really seem to do that. But then the one time that we do, Jan balls it, gets sent off, and effectively loses us the game. Really, when you look at it, not willingly but doing that, but you know, the wheels well and truly fell off during that game. Then, I mean, I've not even put the second goal from Luton. I remember that one being worse. That was the one that was
really criminal. That was the Mark McGuinness handball, Carlton Morris handball, both in the space of about a second, which I can forgive the first one because it comes in at 100 mile an hour underneath James Beadle. The referee's official, because obviously you're not supposed to call them linesmen anymore. A referee's official is on that side, dead level with Carlton Morris. Carlton Morris, the minute it touches him and he passes it into the back of the net, big telltale sign, immediately looks at them, looks to the right, goes away. Can't believe it's not been given. I thought
Chef Cam said, the Harlem Globetrotters winner at Kenilworth Road. Bang right.
And to be fair, James, that was echoed by a lot of Luton fans coming out after the game. They were all going, like Luton fans, as I was taking a very, very, very long walk back I parked at Luton Town's new stadium, because I don't know if you've heard, they're having a new stadium built. I parked all the way over there, right in the centre of town, and every single Luton fan that I spoke to on the way back went, I don't know how we've won that. Like, they were by far the better side. But this was a prime example, and we've continued this theme all season. You give away stupid free kicks in dangerous areas with players who are able to... It's not, we are the only side that's shit at free kicks aside from the last day of the season. Like, everybody else has a dead ball specialist, somebody who is consistently able to deliver the ball. And I think Alfie Doherty had 4 free kicks in the space of, 10 minutes, all in the same area. One of them is bound to cause some chaos, and that one did.
Yeah, Alex has said, worst back-to-back games ever supporting Wednesday, robbed of 5 points. And I know obviously it doesn't work like this, because had we have got, the winner against QPR, maybe that wouldn't have happened against Luton and everything else, rah. But it does make you wonder, doesn't it, when you look at it, just them 2 games in isolation there. I know we still wouldn't have got into the top 6. We were 10 points off. Yeah. There's 5 points there that were literally just thrown away via a red card. Because had he not got the red card, we would have won that game at a canter. Like we would have.
Yeah, I'm fairly convinced we'd have seen that out. Or
we were in control. You know, in control of the game. Luton weren't really threatening too much, and we were 1-0 up. And then the QPR one, we literally got to hold on for seconds. That's all that needed to happen. And we can obviously we're going to go through all the games, but there's many others where we're close, we're in the game. It's just little decisions that have gone against us. We then went on to beat West Brom 3-2 at home. Little squeaky
mental game of football that was.
Yeah, squeaky bum time with when they pegged it back to 2-2, didn't they? And then we went down the other end and
it was the Josh Windass header, which at one point I thought was going to be his best goal of the season. The header from 20 odd yards out, where he loops it over the goalkeeper, and it's Akin Famewo plays a 60-yard diag like prime Joost van Aken.
Yeah, totally forgot about that goal, by the way. But that was a great goal. Then followed by the obligatory 0-0 draw at Ashton Gate. We never always shit games down at Bristol City.
That is terrible. Jack, previously of this Paris, messaged me on that night and he said, "You coming down because your family are from Bristol?" I went, "Am I fuck?" And I think he messaged just after the game and just went, "Did well not choosing that one, pal."
Yes. Right, let's move on to Coventry then. Coventry 1, Sheffield Wednesday 2. Just also as well at this point, I just want to say we were 19th in the league going into this game. Like I said, we started top. We did drop as low as 20th, but then the win against West Brom and then the draw against Bristol City brought us up to 19th. I can't believe how early on in the season this was. This is match 9 in the season. It felt a lot further on for some bizarre reason when I think back. So me and you were both there, weren't we? We were there at the CBS. 2 last-minute goals, one in the last minute of the first half, one in the last minute of the second half as well. Gassama smashed it into the roof of the net. Fantastic finish. We went absolutely bedlam in that away end, and then Starboy himself, Mr. Shea Charles, with a goal. Masaba doing all the legwork quite well. To put it nicely, quite aptly, running from the halfway line, and then I'll play the clip because it sounds like is he offside? Is he not offside? But just before I play it though, Matt, last minute winners. There's not much that beats a last minute winner, is there, in football? No,
especially at a place where you've never won.
Yeah,
like just unbelievable that away end.
Let's play the clip.
Well, Bannon slips
again.
But is it going to be given away by Coventry? It is. Masaba picks it up for the Owls. Now he gets his head down. Can he?
He's going all the way. Go on.
He slips it through. It's Shea Charles.
Oh,
Wednesday in the 93rd minute. The bench clears. It went through, and the on-loan Southampton man seems to have won it for the Owls. He kept his composure. He slips it past Ben Wilson. It is Coventry 1, Sheffield Wednesday 2.
I don't know whether to say this sentence. I thought he was offside. Again, that linesman's done us a favour again on that far side. But fantastic finish.
What a finish to this game. I have to say, John, my first reaction was to agree with you that Charles was offside, that Masaba ran through, and Charles may well have been offside, but who cares? Because Wednesday would argue they had a goal against QPR against them that shouldn't have stood.
Oh, what a day. I just go back to the scenes in that away end, just going absolutely mental. But, he weren't offside, were he? Surely he weren't.
No, it weren't. But I tell you what, had Shea Charles missed, fucking hell would there have been an inquisition as to why he's not squared that to Anthony Masaba. My good God, had that been saved and gone out for a corner? Can you imagine the uproar?
To be fair, when you look at it, he does well to stay on his feet. It looks like his legs have all given way, but manages to slot it past him. And I think I'm right in saying that was his first professional goal as well.
I mean, this was... I mean, if you needed any more convincing from the previous run of clips and games where Shea Charles had played, this really started his Sheffield Wednesday career. There was a tackle, I think, at Luton away where he went into a 50-50 and you heard it echo around the stadium. And then this. I mean, the other thing is, James, as well, we were battered in that second half by Coventry. They didn't have many clear-cut opportunities, but oh my God, there was mountains of pressure. There was heaps of pressure on us. Paul Valentin played really well in this game. Marshall,
Ingleson was another one.
Yeah, Van Ewijk didn't get a sniff. I think Svante Ingleson, we saw that kind of like those deep runs in beyond a forward again into channels. Max Lowe was great up until he went off for his injury. That was the first game
did we play Jan Valery in a back
with
five?
Max Lowe? With Max Lowe, and I think Deshawn Bernard, because I think that was Iorfa's first injury at the course of the season. He then came back for a spell, and then he had his regular March injury that sees him through till the end of the season. What a day! Like, we were. Again, I thought we were organised, and this was much more a harking back to the season before under Danny Röhl, where we were sound and solid defensively, and there was a unit that was refusing to be broken. Because the Jack Rodoni goal, again, watching the goal back now, I think with the emotion removed from it, it's a really good finish, but there's nobody around him. Like, it's right in the corner. Me and you sat on the pod, I think, at the time, and we're saying, should Beadle do better? I think that's one of the ones that you can safely say when you watch it back. James Beadle's got no chance at that.
Yeah.
Like, absolutely no chance at it. And then this sparked that kind of like springboard for a run of results all the way through until pretty much Middlesbrough, really, in terms of never feeling like we were beaten in a game. And that was a really, really strange feeling to have as a Sheffield Wednesday fan, one that we've not had since. To be fair, James, I'd probably argue we didn't even have it in the League One days when we were there. If we'd go 1-0 up, you'd just expect to win the game. Whereas if we went behind, you weren't thinking, right, this side are going to kick on and we're going to come back. You'd think, whoa, this doesn't normally happen to us. And there'd be a bit of sweating until you got it level, and then you'd go on and win the game. Whereas this was like, at this point in time, we were like, well, if we go behind, we lose. Like, there's no ifs or buts about it. And yeah, the winner was great. My favourite line from that commentary is the bench clears, because you get all of that. You get Shea Charles, then you see the bench kind of all piling onto him, Pearce jumping down. I mean, I didn't see anything from the away end because I was too busy fighting off people like landing on top here and stuff like that. What a day.
This was the game where they got face on, didn't they? Because Danny just, final whistle, bolted straight to the away end, rather than kind of shaking his hand and what have you.
Which, to be fair, James, I'm sure we said it at the time, it is a bit of a shit look. It is a bit of a shit look. But again, I totally understood it because of the emotion that had gone from the weeks before. You know, we'd started so well. We'd not picked up a win since kind of like until West Brom the week before, and that was a late show as well. Absolutely stellar away day at the CBS, that one.
Talking of shit looks, we are going to be talking about Danny Röhl on Extra Time. So if you've joined late, join us for Extra Time. It will be streamed live straight after this one, or you can catch it back on over on Patreon.
Sorry, James, I've just seen this. Tony Roper. Sorry, Tony Roper, Masaba would have missed. Tony, do you know what? End of the season, I don't blame you. If it had been Sissoko, it'd have gone under his foot. I don't mind it.
Chef Cam said, forgot what a lovely, intelligent pass through that was. Yes.
Yeah.
It was kind of like, he passed it when you're not expecting it, Masaba, as he's running and he slips it through, and then and he had to get it the bang, at that exact moment as well, because had he not, it would have been offside. After that game, we did lose 2-0 to Burnley at Hillsborough. And then it was a 0-0 draw with Swansea, both back-to-back home games.
That was just touch on that Swansea one. The Ugbo miss in the Burnley game, everybody thought that was going to be his worst miss of the season, strapping. And then there was the Swansea one, which is the worst game of football I've seen this season.
Yeah, it was awful. It was dire, wasn't it? Like, two really bad sides. We did manage to get up to 18th by the next game, and that was Pompey away. This was the game where Akinfenmewo, who had been doing fantastic, I felt, right up until this point. We're 12 games into the season now. Akinfenmewo didn't do great. The season prior, obviously when he came in again, just kind of he was all right, left-sided. So you kind of hoping he would do the left-sided footballers or left-footed footballers like rocking all shit, aren't they? Really, to be fair, when you're trying to find one. But yeah, he was doing fantastic, and then picked that injury up at Portsmouth, and you're thinking, like such a shame because nobody was around him. And when you see that, you already know it. That's going to be
Yeah.
fairly serious. But I have picked this game out purely because of Michael Smith's goal.
Yeah.
What a goal that was. When he hit it, like, I was thinking, who scored that? Windass? Who? Michael Smith? I mean, he's playing tricks on me, to give you a Phoenix Knights reference there. But
Whoa. Have you got two of my builders up there singing Acapulco? Anyway, yeah. I think aesthetically, I prefer this one to the Josh Windass halfway line one in terms of like from the aesthetics of it. And I think there's a camera angle just behind the goal that looks sublime. The Josh Windass goal obviously is the best goal in the EFL all year, irrespective of what awards say. This aesthetically is because it's in stride. He doesn't take a touch. The ball's bobbling. There's no like real backlift to the finish. It's literally just guided. And it starts so far outside the post and comes back in. And you can see the reaction of all the other players. And also, I will credit him with this because for the amount of goals that Michael Smith has scored, I don't think he's the best at celebrating. This was a brilliant celebration. Running off, jogging and smiling and shaking his head at the home fans, just going, not me. It's not me who scored, is it?
The thing is, though, as well, I'll play the clip in a second, but in my head, every time I've imagined this goal, he's got back another 5 yards further out.
In his own box.
Yeah, like surely from halfway line when he hit this one, but then we're a little bit closer. You know, when I played it back, I was like, really? Was it really from there? I mean, he's still far out, but just the way he runs onto it and hits it, like you said, in his stride, it's like all in one motion, isn't it? He kind of hits it and then kind of carries on running. I love those goals, where someone hits it and they know it's gone in kind of a couple of seconds before anyone else, and they kind of peel off already.
They've got that moment to start going the other way.
Yeah, and they know it's already gone in. But yeah, I'll play the clip now.
Jamal low on the far post. It's cut back instead for Smith. Oh, a sensational goal! An absolutely glorious strike from Michael Smith. What an absolute belter.
Oh, look at that.
Do you know what? Just for shits and giggles, I'm going to play it again. What a goal.
Jamal low on the far post. It's cut back instead for Smith. Oh, a sensational goal. An absolutely glorious strike from Michael Smith.
He set it off in Southampton, didn't he?
Oh, it's unbelievable. And also, I think it is important to stress here how bad he was in the first half. Because he had a chance in the first half where he had genuinely the freedom of Portsmouth in the edge of their box and took an age to hit the ball and got clipped from behind. The second half performance from him, because the other thing I think we probably should give him credit for here, he'd come back into the side at that point and he was a little bit frozen out, and we were kind of like, it wasn't really happening for Ike Ugbo. It wasn't really happening for Jamal Lowe. Michael Smith was coming on and getting bits here and there, and he started that game, and we were so bad in that first half. We were properly dragged down to Portsmouth's level. Because remember, at this point in the season as well, Portsmouth were not a good side.
No.
Portsmouth looked absolutely dead and buried. The header that he lays on a plate for Josh Windass for the goal as well, like the little clip ball to the back post, and you just see him give the defender just a little nudge, get up above him, head it right down into the edge of the 6-yard area. And I suppose as a striker, you are effectively saying, go on, finish that. Like, I could not do more for you. And then that goal was, because he starts the move off, doesn't he, Michael Smith?
Yeah.
He
He's on the
plays
floor. He's
Yeah.
actually on the floor. That's why he probably is where he is.
Yeah.
At the time when the ball comes in, because he's had to get up off the floor and kind of, well, I wouldn't say sprint, but jog into position. What a fantastic ball to find him.
Yeah.
Probably not thinking like I suppose if that's not Michael Smith, if that's a Barry Bannon, I mean, I know it's come onto his wrong side there, but anyone else probably tries to clip it to the back post or something.
Yeah.
But he just thought, fuck it, I'm hitting this.
I think
he said he was knackered. He said he was knackered. That's why he hit it.
He said that in his interview after, didn't he? I think the only other player who we had capable in the squad of doing that this season was Josh Windass. Because again, as you say, with Bannon, Bannon, from what I've seen from Bannon's long range shots, unless it's kind of like a volley, he doesn't want to hit them first time. He wants to get a touch with the ball under control and then really put his laces through it and smack it as hard as he can. Josh Windass is the only other player that I've seen over the course of the last 2 years that puts that really delicate touch onto a finish in terms of, I think, back to that goal at Blackburn at Ewood Park, the one that got us out of the relegation zone the season before. It's a sensational goal. And we were brilliant in the second half, like truly brilliant. But again, it is worthwhile stressing we were dog awful in the first half.
Basically, what he did, he pulled right bumper and finessed it, didn't he? That's what he did. And if you're playing FIFA, I don't even know if that's do you know what, last time I played FIFA, can't even remember. People will be shouting at me now saying it's not that button that you press,
or it's not FIFA anymore. It's the AFC.
Yeah, that should. I still call it WWF, and it's still called the Reebok. So up yours is all I say on that one. Daniel said, Sir Michael Smith, take a bow, son. Alex Young, Michael Smith's thunderbolt. For real gameplay said any other season, Smith's goal would have had goal of the season based on how it looked going in. Yes, Justin said it's a beauty and the camera angle really helps. For real also goes on to say the second camera angle is insane. Ian Frost, as a Miller. Ian, did you burn Michael Smith's shirt when he came to us? But anyway, he said, as a Miller, it was a fantastic goal from Smith, and I agree. It was better than Windass's, and Tony said he hit his peak in that moment, and all Chef Cam could muster up is two of the water emojis. You missed the aubergine off it, Chef Cam, but anyway.
It was, again, just to go back to that point, Ian. Firstly, thank you for joining us, Ian. I know this has got to be quite painful for a side that's
a rage watch. This one, I think.
Yeah, it's a pure hate watch. He's just tuned in, expecting to see the second half where it's full meltdown. Come back next week, Ian, for proper content. But it was, just to tie a bow on that, James. It was a truly sublime finish, and something that. I've seen Michael Smith do that at the Leppings Lane end for Rotherham when the ball fell to him in the box and he just curled it into the far corner. I know he's not as far out and I know it's a different goal, but that nice little caressed finish. And I think there was a game. What was the game? Was it Watford or Preston? I think it might be it was Watford or Preston. It was one of the two where the ball comes back to him and he's got to adjust his body position and he kind of like guides it in and it rolls in like a P-roller type of goal. I think it was Watford in the first half. Yeah. And you do think at times, if he just had a bit more pace about him, I'm not talking about a half yard here. I think he needs a full yard. But if he had a full yard of pace, I do genuinely believe I would be making a really, really massive argument to be keeping him around the football club for until his career finishes. Because in this little run of games here, he was so effective. And I know it became sort of more like a bench role. But he was so effective. He was impacting so many games positively. And it was a really good stretch of the season for him.
Yeah, definitely. Justin says, will we see Ugbo's highlights?
6 season, Justin. You're going to regret it when he gets 30.
Yes, definitely. Right, quickly then, the next game. Just a mental game. At half-time, it's 1-1. You're thinking, we're in this game, it's not too bad. And then you just fast forward to full time and it's 6-2. And you're thinking, what the fucking hell's happened here? I am talking about the Watford game, of course. It's mad as well because I obviously played Watford the last game of the season, spoke to Mike, the Watford fan, and he was like, I follow them on the socials as well. And they've even put in like memes up of is it, I forget, Bayunde or something, their striker. They said he was shit before this game, and then he went on and scored 4 goals, and I think that's all his goals all season. I think, to be honest, not really done a great deal after that. But yeah, I just think even though we got beat 6-2, I do think it was massively unfair because they had 2 penalties, didn't they? To make it 2-1 and then 3-1, which I know whether they're penalties or not, it's by the by. But it's kind of at that point 3-1 down in the second half. Game's gone. I'm not meaning game's gone in that sense, but the game has
game's gone. Game's totally gone.
You can't say that now, can you? Without it meaning the other thing. What I mean is that we've got beat basically.
Yeah, I would push back a little bit, James, there and say it felt unfair. I think when you've lost the game 6-2 and you've been resoundingly beaten in one half of football, I don't think you can have many complaints here. I think the calamitous defending that we saw from Deshawn Bernard with the handball, the calamitous defending from not from EK Ugbo, Jesus Christ, from Dominic Iorfa to give away 2 penalties in the space of 5 minutes. I think Bayo, who scores I think it's the 4th for them, is an absolutely brilliant finish. The little dink over James Beadle. Again, I think at that point, this was Watford's 45 minutes of what we experienced at Plymouth, where it was like everything seemed to click for them. I think in this game, Marvin Johnson got exposed quite a lot down that left-hand side as well.
I beg your pardon.
Yeah.
Get that on the carry-on clips.
Yeah, absolutely. I wonder if this coincides with Laura Hood messaging about dogs. Anyway,
yeah.
But we were awful in the second half, and we were shell shocked. And in previous weeks, we had been able to wrestle control back in games. In this, Watford actually, if you go back and look at the second half and ignore the goals for a minute, we couldn't play out. We couldn't find our way out of spaces. We came out we came out at half time. Watford scored really quickly, and we're like, right, just shelve that, forget it. We then tried to play. I remember this really vividly. It was on the left-hand touchline, and there was some interchange that was supposed to be between Marvin Johnson, Bannon, and I can't remember who else was in the centre. It might have been Shea Charles. And we didn't go anywhere with it. And then we ultimately ended up just smacking it long straight back to Watford. And then there was no press on them. There was no pressure on them whatsoever. And Watford came forward. And I remember thinking, are we that out of ideas today? Yeah. Legitimately, are we that out of ideas just because Watford, I think Tom Cleverley came out after the game and said, we changed shape, we changed system, we adjusted to kind of press them in wider areas, and it really paid off. It did. I can't criticise them. Again, I think when you get beat 6-2, similar to the Leeds game earlier on, 2-0 Burnley, same with that. We were in the Burnley game in particular, we had opportunities in that. When you get beat, you get beat. You got to hold your hands up when it's a comprehensive battering like this was. I mean, this was 6-2. There's no points on a scorecard for this. It's not a great game.
Yeah, James has said this game reminded me of Man City overhaul in the second half, and then Chef Cam said the simplicity of the Watford goals was what killed me. Yeah. They did.
I think that's a fair comment.
Did make it look very easy. From fans said, fantastic podcast, lads. I did not burn his shirt, but I will admit I was disappointed to lose both on the same day. Never expected Icky to stay. Don't blame him though. We only pay in Legos, according to my Owls friends. Tim Pot Toy Town are what I usually hear from him. Look, we didn't even have to say anything there, Ian, but thanks again for tuning in, as always. We then head into the Steel City derby. We picked up a 2-0 win against Norwich. Goals from Windass and Iorfa, I want to say, an Iorfa header.
We also say should have been 3. This is the worst miss of EK Ugbo's several misses over the course of the season. You could talk about the penalty at Millwall, which I know we're going to come on to do in the second part of this. This is prime striker with zero confidence, because
the ball goes backwards. Well. The ball goes backwards.
He started well in this game. Started really well.
He's a yard out, and the ball actually finishes up about 6 yards out. Like that.
Yeah.
I think if it doesn't hit him, it probably goes in. It's one of those ones that you're thinking, but I mean, obviously at this point, we're 14 games into the season. We don't really realise that we're going to have another 30 odd games.
We think it's bad now.
of him not scoring. But yeah, the United game. I didn't have a clip for the Watford one. I haven't got a clip for this one because we've all seen the goal. We don't need to. There weren't really any other highlights. It was very much a typical Steel City derby. Very tense and things. Can you feel what you like? Remember what you was like before the games? We met. We went down together, didn't we? Parked up and walked into the ground early doors. It did feel like it did feel very tense. The atmosphere was very tense around the ground, weren't it?
Parked up and you nearly got screamed at for some bloke behind parking. Do you remember? You were just like, I'm just waiting for him to open the door, and he was like, "No, you can't park here. You'll get a ticket." And you were like, "Yeah, that's all right. I'm still in the car. I'll move it when they come." No, you can't park here. It's not me. I'm just saying you can't park here. It's not me.
Have you heard that meme? Is it that Australian lad? Just waiting for a mate. No, I felt like saying that to him, but he were having none of it, weren't he? Really, to be fair. But yeah, it was a tense atmosphere, weren't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it was. It was tense. It was Remembrance Sunday as well, which I think coincided with sort of like an eerier atmosphere. And I'm not saying that because of obviously it being Remembrance Sunday, because there is a lot that rides on the Steel City derby, no matter when it is. But it did add to that.
Because people were trying to be respectful, but also trying to hate people at the same time. It doesn't really go hand in hand, does it? To be honest, the two kind of occasions.
No, and there was some. I will call this out now. There were some disgusting scenes on both sides of the Steel City that day in terms of fans mocking one another. There was fans throwing objects at one another. There was some really horrible stuff that went on. I know people bracket it and pigeonhole it as it's a derby, it's going to happen. But I think
there's a line, isn't there?
Yeah, I think as two Sheffield clubs, you've both got to admit you need to do better around that. It was, in terms of the game, a thoroughly terrible match of football, and it was decided by, we said it on the night, James, it was decided by one moment of pure quality from Gustavo Harmer, who's quite rightly been given the best player in the division, because he is. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he's shit just because he plays in a red and white shirt. He's a fantastic player. He cut Bannon and Windass, sold them both a dummy, finds a great ball to the only player in space. Tyrese Campbell takes the finish early. Do you remember at the time as well, James, everybody banging on at Beadle for Beadle should do better. But again, go back and watch it without the emotion. The strike is hit so early. It's hit so early, there's not a lot that he can do.
I've watched some of the highlights back since, and it's one of those games where I forget that, the chances that we kind of, not clear-cut chances, but we had going into the final 10, 15 minutes. I think when Gassama comes on, I don't think Gassama starts that game. He comes on, and a lot of United mates, I know I hate to admit that, I've got some of those, but they were saying how he should have started from the beginning, because he caused them all sorts of problems. And it was just one of those really cagey games where I don't think both sides didn't want to lose. We were, it's the first time we'd had one in a while. The occasion and stuff. They are the better side, on paper. And we just, for me, I was going into it, I just didn't want to get battered. I didn't want it to be a 6-2, like against Watford or whatever. But then again, when the game pans out, you think, there's such a chance there for us to get a win. But alas, didn't come.
No, but I think the other thing is, irrespective of what Sheffield United fans will say about, and Chris Wilder in particular in March, which we'll talk about in the second half of the season, where it's this 27-minute rant of just how far they are above us and all the rest of it. It's really funny because for 60 minutes, Bramall Lane was very quiet. Very quiet. And I'll be completely honest, again, I'm not too proud to say this. Every time I've been to Bramall Lane, it has been incredibly hostile as an away fan. It's been loud, it's been relatively intimidating, it's been in-your-face type of noise. For 60 minutes, it was stone dead silence, and I think that gives you an indication of just how nervous the other side of the city were about.
Because it would have been, for them, it would have been really embarrassing to lose, wouldn't it? Not only against your nearest and dearest, but also because everyone expected them to beat us.
I agree, but I also think it's important to remember do you remember the momentum that was kind of building around us at the time? Because at the time, Danny Rill was definitely the darling of Sheffield Wednesday fans, but he was also the darling of the EFL media. There was a lot of talk about how fantastic he was and how he was getting so much and dragging so much out of this squad. And the release when that ball hit the back of the net on 60 minutes and the worst chant in football of sausage roll started, the release of it was just sheer weight off your shoulders type of feeling from United fans. And then with 10 minutes to go, as you say, when Masaba came on, when Gassama came on, and when Michael Smith came on, because Michael Smith made a massive difference, because again, this was another game, and I feel like I'm really slating him here, and I've defended him a lot this season. Ike Ugbo was really anonymous in that first half. We didn't play the ball into his feet. We didn't get it around him. He wasn't quick enough in closing down the kind of centre halves. Michael Smith came on, and all he did was get the ball on his chest and lay it out wide and let the two quick lads just run in. Jeddy Gassama had an opportunity. I think it's the last kick of the game where I remember being relatively... I was basically out on Bramall Lane. But I remember being dead in line with it and think just hit it across the box, which I think a couple of weeks later when Jenny Gassama was in that sparkling form, I think he would have done. He tries to kind of clip the ball in and doesn't get it right. It gets cleared and all the rest of it. I think it's one of those where it was nearly but not quite. But again, as you said, James, this was an opportunity for this particular iteration of Sheffield United to really run up a score on our team, because the difference in quality between the two sides is massive, absolutely huge at the minute in time. As their manager keeps pointing out, they've only been able to muster up a 1-0. And I know they've won a lot of games 1-0, and there's, 3 points is 3 points, whether it's 1-0 or 6. But I dread to think of how bad it would have been had we lost either of those games by a score of, 3, 4, 5. You would never, ever hear the end of it.
Yeah, definitely. Let's move on then. I mean, we did follow that defeat up. We drew with Cardiff, another game which should have perhaps won, and then a 2-0 win against Hull at their place, which I've never seen a team as bad as Hull. They were absolutely all over the shop. I mean, the goal, Smith's goal. Where's the defenders? They've just all fucked off. But yeah, and then we go to Pride Park.
Just before you move on from Pride Park, James, Sheffield Wednesday got a penalty.
Oh yeah, they did.
Do you remember? We were one day, the most Sheffield Wednesday thing to happen. The one day from breaking a record, and Josh Windass scores a fucking penalty. Can't have anything nice, can we? Can't have anything nice.
I think we celebrated the awarding of the penalty more than the actual goal itself.
It was Paul Valentin, wasn't it? And that was the least of all of the penalties that we'd had, all of the penalty shouts that we'd had all this season. That was 100% the worst. Yeah.
Yeah, forgot about we'd gone. How long we'd gone? Like a full year and
full calendar.
More?
Yeah, I think it was over a full calendar year without a penalty, and we were one day off beating. Was it Bolton's record?
Something like that. Yeah. It's coming flooding back now. But yeah, we did go to Pride Park, and just like earlier on in the season with the CBS, never won there. We have won at the Pride Park, but it was a very, very, very long time ago, and I think we've only won there once. I want to say, but Derby will be absolutely kicking themselves because they should have been long gone. We shouldn't have even had a chance to win that game. I think there was the whole game prior. Beadle pulled off a fantastic save from point blank range where Hull should have scored, and he did exactly the same against Derby. I think they'd scored. I think they were 1-0 up at this point where Beadle pulls off a magnificent stop, and you're thinking, that should be 2-0. Yeah. And then Bannon. But Bannon doesn't score tap-ins, does he?
No, he's not really one of those arrive late into the box, tap it in like you used to see from George Byers from time to time in a Wednesday show. Oh, I miss that, man. But you used to see from time to time. Bannon scores outrageous goals.
Yeah, just he can't, like I said, he can't score a tap in. There is obviously Jamal Lowe scores another last minute winner. We seem to score goals, after 90 minutes, but I've just clipped up the Bannon goal, and let's just watch it one more time.
Well, here's Musaba looking for Smith. Cashin's in the way. Now Johnson. Smith again. There's Windass. Windass with a cross. Zetterstrom deals with it. It's Barry Bannon! It's outrageous from Barry Bannon. He is still doing the business in a Sheffield Wednesday shirt, and he has just added to his legend.
That is absolutely sensational.
When you watch it back, the technique as well, to kind of just lift it over the keeper, and then there's a kid on the line as well, and also it's such a shit cross. Like how we've scored from that situation there. Like the kids headed it away. Really, the keeper's behind him. There's no Wednesday player at all.
Yep.
But yeah, just that finish guides it because he doesn't smash it, does he? He just again almost just caresses it into that top left hand corner.
He's got a postage stamp to find, and he does. It's the one place where that ball can go in, and it does. I think there are a couple of other takeaways for me from this game, aside from the parking situation at Pride Park, which next season I'm going to be getting the fucking train. Anthony Masaba was truly terrible. Truly terrible that day. Ball's running under his feet. He's kicking the ball out of play when there's nobody around him. And we as a whole were really bad up until that Bannon goal. 3 subs changed that game. In terms of, we had Nathaniel Chalobah, who came on, was excellent in the 25 minutes that we saw him, and that was his first game back from injury, where he was injured in the first, I think it was 3 weeks of the season, week and a half of the season, something like that. Callum Patterson, we introduced him as a proper agent of chaos with 10 minutes to go, and he does so for the winner spectacularly. And Jamal Lowe. This, aside from Plymouth on the opening day of the season and Oxford, this is his best performance in a Sheffield Wednesday shirt, and it's a cameo for 20 minutes. He never stopped running. I think Danny came out in his press conference after, and he'd said he'd watched back loads of clips of Jamal and said, why aren't you getting into those positions in front of the goal like you were doing, like for Bournemouth and Swansea, and we want you to do that. The goal that wins it, I know you haven't clipped it, James, but the goal that wins it, that again, if we're talking celebrations, it's he gets up and does like the tapping of like the time to go thing on his wrist. But it's Marvin Johnson and Callum Patterson for me who just start waving at the home fans, just going, bye-bye, see you later. I agree with James. This was one of the best away days. So James has said, I have to say Derby is one of my favourite away days. The pubs are really accommodating and the ground is just a nice place to be as an away supporter. I echo all of those sentiments apart from the parking situation. Do not fucking drive. It is, and do not, if you're going to drive, don't park near the ground, because oh my goodness me. I messaged you, didn't I? And you were like, how long's your sat nav saying? And I was like, well, he says I've got an hour and 15, so I got to go pick my wife and son up, who were staying at my some of her family just around the corner, and it was only a 15-minute drive. And then you were like, how far away are you, mate? And I was like, no, I'm still sat in the car park here.
Yeah, you could still see the ground, couldn't you, from where you were?
Yeah, terrible.
Like still absolutely sat there, not moved at all, which is absolutely mental. Tony's just saying Kieran Lee is a player I remember for late run tap-ins, obviously referencing the goal that Jamal Lowe scored. Apologies, I can't pledge Zeprobe. Probably done that all the disservice there. Butchered it big time. Last penalty against Peterborough in the playoffs. So in regular time, it was against Portsmouth.
We had one against Portsmouth. In the playoffs, there was the Michael Smith one 7 minutes in, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was. Yeah, there was that one. Anyway, let's move on then. I mean, after that, it was a mixed bag. A draw at home to Preston. Blackburn beat us as well. And then, followed up by that 3-1 win against Oxford, first win at the Kassam. In interest of time, we're going to kind of. I know you kind of referenced that game at the top, but I just want to move on to the the Stoke game, the game at home against Stoke. We're now 9th, by the way, in the league. So we put a few wins together, and we have quite shot up the league. This was that game where we went down to 10 men. I would say awful challenges. Stupid challenges by Deshawn Bernard, to reference the Luton commentator earlier on. But we had to play 49 minutes of the game down to 10 men. And at that point as well, I was just like, we're just making things so hard for ourselves, really. Getting a second red card of the season as well. And you're thinking, because, I want to say as well, Bernard, I wouldn't say he was flagging, but I don't know if he was playing with it. No, now he gets an injury and he's out for a while. I don't know whether he was playing with a bit of an injury or not. Thinking back, because his performances did kind of drop off a little bit and he wasn't as good as what we all imagined. He was a bit rushed. I think for one of the yellow cards, he actually gets the ball stuck under his feet and then it gets dispossessed and it just drags him down. I think that's the one where he actually gets sent off. Just total needless fouls and not really what we expect of Deshawn Bernard.
I think the other thing is remembering just how much football he'd played up until his injury at West Brom. He'd obviously had the full season at us, which was, great. He'd played a full season of first team football and been fantastic. He'd then gone away with Jamaica and played for them. He then came back, and remember, he didn't have a club because he was only on a 1-year deal, and he was training in like garages here, there and everywhere. And we were seeing like, he's posted the training kit day one, and then
he's wearing the shorts.
Then someone the day after is going, he's in the Jamaica kit, don't worry about it. And then he signed for us, but again, another one who signed for us late. And then we had to play an awful lot of. He had to play an awful lot of football again because we had injuries at the back. And at this point in time, Michael Ahekwa was being told, "Please stay away from Hillsborough." Like he was being told, don't. It's pointless. You're not going to play. Like you're going to be kind of like out in the cold. You're going to go find yourself a new club. Blah blah blah. I agree with you, James. I don't know whether we'll ever get the full story or truth on that. But it did strike me as, I wouldn't say he had a poor season up until his injury, but he didn't play as well as he did the season before. But again, I probably think that's down to a lack of a proper pre-season, how much football he'd played, and a constant rotating partner next to him, like constantly had to work with either Max Lowe or Famewo or Valerie or whoever next to him. So again, I don't put too much stock into the fact that he's all of a sudden shit.
Yeah, it was just a strange game though, weren't it? Down to 10 men, and then Windass pops up with the goal, and then Pato scores as well, and you're thinking, wait a minute, like normally you go down to 10, and all right, Stoke not fantastic, but you'd expect them to be better than what they actually were, wouldn't you? Really, and it was just a weird game, because normally subconsciously you go down to 10, you think we're up, we're going to be up against it here, but we almost played better, I felt, down to 10 men. It was weird.
They were a poor side as well, Stoke, at this point in time. I know they comprehensively beat us at the end of the season, but they were a poor side at this point in time.
Yeah. I don't know why this clip's 58 seconds long. Maybe there's about 14 replays of the goal, and the goal isn't even that good, but I'm just going to play it anyway.
Wednesday retaining possession. Charles into Bannon. Bannon tries to slip it in.
Forward. That's a great ball.
It's now with Valerie. Can he cut this back into the centre?
Yes!
It goes in. It's Windass for Sheffield Wednesday. The goalkeeper tried to cut it out. Didn't take a lot of contact really from Josh Windass for that to go over the goal line. But 10-man Sheffield Wednesday lead against Stoke City. It's Josh Windass reacting from Valerie's cross ball. The Owls lead Stoke by a goal to nil.
Yeah, superb play down that right-hand side. Valerie's just taken a knock. Doesn't look very comfortable. And there he was again, just in that 6-yard box, poaching Josh Windass.
Great ball from Bannon though, just threading it through.
Brilliant. It's poor defending by Stoke, but what a lovely ball.
14 replays of a tapping, seemingly there. But do you know what as well? That just shows how easy football can be. And I just think we stopped kind of doing that. After this point in the season, you look at the second half and I don't know, just literally a ball down the wing and runners in the box as well. How many times, you referenced it at the top, didn't you, with the Jamal Lowe goal against Plymouth, and that's just how simple it can be. I know, a little bit fortuitous. The keeper perhaps should get there when he comes out, but yeah, just making football look really easy.
I think there's two reasons for that, James. If I'm trying to cite a kind of like an answer to that question, one is personnel. And the amount of rotation that we've had in those wing-back positions. Because remember, like Jan Valerie then went missing for a large portion of the back end of the season. And again, we had Rio Hatsuse, Marvin Johnson, Max Lowe was moved into centre-back with the needs that we kind of had there.
Yeah, and then you have Masaba, then you've got Gassama playing in the more advanced positions. Yeah, it's a lot of different people, I guess, yeah.
I think the other thing is as well, James, like, we've got clearly something going off in the chat here, in terms of people saying that we've all disappeared. I think the other thing is as well, James, is you evolve and you develop your style of play. Like you change the way in which that you play football, and you change and develop and adapt the way in which that you choose to, I suppose, attack or kind of like attack teams. And I think that is something that, again, is something that we probably look to change really over the second half of that season or over the course of it, really. So yeah, I think there are answers to it, really.
Yeah, he does say stream suspended for policy violations.
Rage.
It's a good job we got to the end, didn't it? Really. So, but it's still up on X. So anyway, let's talk about
Chef Cam. Sorry, I'm just going to highlight that Chef Cam. Some swat sat in the EFL, sat at home repeatedly clicking the report button. Give it a day off. It's Sunday evening.
Just all that time yesterday getting those clips for absolutely nothing.
It's John Pearson. It's John Pearson. That's what it is. You slating his loud commentary. That's what's done it.
Probably is. Let's talk about the last game then. I said last game. It's the last game of this part one. Middlesbrough 3, Wednesday 3. Another mental game. 3-0 down at half time. Absolutely dead and buried. Awful first half. I mean, it could literally been about 6-0, and it wouldn't have really flattered him to be fair. And then we must have got a rocket up his arse. I think Borough also got a little bit complacent. I think the red card also helps in that second half. But just an incredible comeback, weren't it?
It was, and this is also, I was going to highlight it in the Stoke one. This was where Josh Windass was on a run of everything he touched turned to gold, and that was proved by this goal coming in off his knob.
We're actually back up on YouTube, by the way, so I've no idea what happened.
Yeah,
so,
someone's heard that and gone, oh, fuck it, why not? It's Sunday. But it was chalk and cheese, the two performances, total opposites of one another in terms of you looked at the way in which that we were in the first half, where we had Gabe Otegbayo and was it Michael Ehekwa, and then did we move Shay? I can't remember who we put in centre half, or we brought Michael Ehekwa on and we brought him out from the freezing cold because Deshawn Bernard had decided to get himself sent off against Stoke and have a Christmas off. And we were sensational. We changed the system, we changed the shape, we stopped Finn Azaz being so creative, we changed the system so that there was 3 in the middle, so that Borough just couldn't play that double pivot that they've been playing all season so effectively, where they could just kind of zip it through into like the pockets and then feed into Azaz. And the second half, realistically, James, should have won the game. Like, we should have won this game.
Yeah, I'm going to play the clip because if it goes off, so what? But it was a fantastic goal back.
Time in about 10 minutes.
Yeah, if it does go off, yeah. Join us on the other stream. There'll be no clips on there, so you'll be able to listen to us for the full entirety. But yeah, this is the goal that brought it back to 3-3.
Wednesday with the corner. Everybody back for Middlesbrough. They've got a short option if they want it. And Gassama will just bring that out by going towards Shea Charles, but he rejects the short option. He whips it into the near post. It's flicked.
Yes! Get in there!
I think Jan Valery has got the final touch, and Wednesday have scored 3 times in 15 minutes. It is Middlesbrough 3, Sheffield Wednesday 3. It's a Boxing Day miracle.
Was this the best Boxing Day you've ever had? Well, I'll tell you, we can win it. We can win it.
Wow.
Just imagine round the other side of Yorkshire. Wednesday losing 3-0 at half-time. They're going to get battered.
It's a brilliant goal, by the way. Corner into the near post. Jan Valery has flicked it towards goal.
He got there in the first half, didn't he? You know, when he touched it on and Windass couldn't quite get the connection he wanted.
Up the second half owls, because there was many times, weren't there, this season where first half had been dog awful, and then the second half just kind of pulled it out of the bag, really.
Honestly, sorry, James, sorry to cut you there. I honestly think it needs to be 2 or 3-0 for Nathaniel Chalobah to have a decent game. Like, it has to be, and it has to be 45 minutes. Because again, at Norwich, he came on and pulled it out the fire. He was. I know. There's. I think it's Daniel Patrick has put Ingleson was the difference that day, and he was great when he came on, and he was much more impactful. He was busy. He's obviously scored the first goal. Nathaniel Chalobah was class in that second half, like genuinely class, and what I suppose we all thought, because I was again, I'll hold my hands up. I was sceptical on the signing, and I'm still not 100% sold on him now. But there have been 1 or 2 performances over the course of the season where you've gone, that's where the player was that was once at Chelsea and once getting a cap for England. That's where he is, and he is capable of it. It's just how frequently, I suppose, you see it.
But it was right, though. Like, that goal went in on 61 minutes. It was another half an hour of football, and I was, I suppose they were bringing defenders on, weren't they? Obviously, went down to 10 men. They were really shitting the pants, and I felt like we should have just gone for the jugular, and we could have perhaps won that game. And I was a bit mad to say 3-0 down at half time, and disappointed that we didn't come away with all 3 points in the end. But such is the life of a Sheffield Wednesday fan. Right, that brings us up to halfway in the season. Strapping for next week's second half of the season, because there's not many. Just for context, on our notes, I've colour coded it green and red for like the wins and defeats, and amber for the draws. There's going to be a lot of red, I feel, certainly for the home games. Anyway, we might have to rethink it with the clips and stuff for next week if there was issues. But anyway, do join us over on Extra Time. It was a new stream, so just go back to us. Back to the YouTube channel, and you'll be able to find us on there in about 5-10 minutes time, and we'll be talking about the Danny Röhl situation. People seem to have a lot of opinions about that. Like I said, if you can't watch the full show, then you can catch it over on Patreon, patreon.com/WTID pod. You can also hear me from yesterday, if you missed that show live, talking about all 13 players that are out of contract. We're talking about who I would keep, who I would release, if it was up to me, which it isn't. I want to point out there was someone who, I don't know if you're listening or watching, you're probably not, because the comment was, what's the point in talking about it? You're not going to have any influence on it, so why bother? So if it was up to him, we wouldn't have a podcast, because what's the point in talking about anything, to be fair? But anyway, I just found that quite funny, to be honest. But yeah, join us over there at 5 or 10 minutes time, and we'll talk about Danny Röhl. But thank you very much for watching this evening.